Hello, everybody. This is Marcus here from MWX Performance. Going to talk today about the Associated RC28. Because of the worlds we just went through, it couldn't spend a lot of time with the car. I had to concentrate on the MWX R1 and the F1 for the event, which went well. Anyway, so back to the RC28. So one of the new products we have is the new Pro chassis. This is it. Fully adjustable. I'm going to go through how to install it and some simple tricks and tips and talk about the car a little bit. Let's get the weight thing out of the way. Let's see what we got here. All right, the Pro chassis is 36.7 grams. The stock chassis is 31.8 grams. So, what is that, about 5-6 grams heavier? If you look at both of them, you will notice that the weight is focused towards the rear of the chassis, and that is to stabilize the rear of the car. One of the things that I was running into before the chassis was if you get the steering wheel you like it, then the rear end wanted to rotate everywhere, and I just didn't really like the balance myself. So adding a little bit of weight towards the back of the car will stabilize the rear. And then in the future, we're working on a new front end for the car. Won't be as complicated as a double A arm, but will work very well. I'm going to have good old AE Brandon Rose in to assist me with testing. We have a new facility coming in February, and it'll be a lot better for testing because we'll have a full-size track instead of the small one that I'm using now. So it'll be a lot better for real-world numbers. All right, so let's go ahead about installing this thing. So first thing you want to do, you're going to take your bracket that comes in the kit, get a reamer, and you want to ream out the bottom side of the holes. They're really thin. The holes are small on purpose, so it's a tight fit. So you'll just do that, kind of clean it up a little bit, get a little edge on there on both sides. And then what you want to do is take any screw, any M2 screw, and you want to go ahead and pre-screw these holes so that when you go to install this on the chassis, you're not chasing around trying to hunt it and trying to figure out where the hole is and press through at the same time. Just makes it a little easier. We're going to go ahead and install that first. One of the things you'll notice on the chassis is that there are multiple sets of holes. So these two back holes here and here, those are for the small battery, the 350s and the small soft packs. And then you have the forward holes here, which are for the 450 size batteries, the large hard case. And you have two holes in the center, and these holes are for the shorter hole is going to be for the stock associated shock, and then the further out hole is going to be for the MWX upgraded dual center spring shock, which is pretty much a must-have nowadays. So for this particular, we're going to set it up for the big size hard case, since that's pretty much what everyone's going to use right now. So here we go. Oh, as far as the screws, you're going to need the screws that come in the kit are perfectly fine. Since we're eliminating that carbon crossbar, all those screws that you use for that will work for this. So you don't really need additional screws. So we're going to take our M2x4 flatheads. And when you do get this, install this, don't over tighten the first side. Get it kind of a little bit snug, I guess you could say. Don't tighten it all the way yet until you get both screws. So the first screw's in there, you still got movement. Now both these are snugged up. Now the material for the battery holder is a flexible, and that's done on purpose because you're going to want the battery to snap in. Once I'll show you on the complete car in a little bit, but right now what you'll see is there's a little edge that keeps the battery from coming out. And when you install everything's together, it snaps in, and then there you go. All right, so after that, we're going to install our shock post. Again, you have two locations for that. We're going to go with the forward longer shock. And there we go. I would probably put a small drop of blue Loctite or purple Loctite on this screw just to assure that it doesn't back off. Okay, there you go. Now, we're going to go to our servo. Servo installation is going to use 4 of your M2x4 with the 1.3 head. The reason why we're using the 1.3 head because it's smaller in diameter and thinner than the 1.5 head. And we want to have room, these are going to go on the bottom of the chassis. So I do that because it needs to slide. And using a flat head usually doesn't work out that great when you're trying to make adjustments for your Ackerman. Speaking of Ackerman, it's set now, so instead of having to use a combination of the carbon bar and the servo for movement, now it's just 2 screws that go into the chassis, so we completely eliminate that top carbon bar, which makes it a lot easier to adjust in my opinion. Okay, and these are not tightened up all the way just yet. We're going to go ahead and get it on the chassis first before we do the fully secure it. Again, these are the standard M2x4 screws. And what you'll see now, that your servo will move forward and backwards and keep itself in alignment. Pretty much always run it forward though, guys. I think I tried running it backwards and rearward, and it just had no steering at all. So I don't really see a situation where you're going to need to run it rearward. But if you do, the adjustment is there, and you can also change the shims on your servo horn as well for Ackerman. So there's your basic install. Okay, in application, the car mounted. Let me go ahead and show you the battery. So I typically will just pull the top shock off or unpop it from back or front, move it out of the way, and then take the battery, and it's kind of have to manipulate it out. Not the easiest to come out, but you kind of what you want. Also helps if you unplug the battery. There we go. To put it in, slide in, snaps in, put your shock back on. And there you have it. All right, performance wise, on the track, testing for me gave the car a lot more rear stability and actually rear grip, which also means you should be able to go more aggressive on the front. And I was able to do that with the stock chassis, I had to run a V525 or a V530, but both are good tires. But I've always been faster with the V1410 or even the HGs, mostly the HGs. The HGs is a very aggressive tire. Especially if you have to chew the tire, then you're going to have quite a bit of long time to get them scrubbed in to where they're back to where I feel they're supposed to be. So this kind of is a segue into the 19 millimeter front wheels. So if you have more rear grip, that means you can have more front grip to get an equal balance, and the car will be faster. So what I've done is MWX has machined Delrin 19 millimeter disc wheels. Now, a couple things about 19 millimeter. Probably the number one thing is that you don't have to chew your tires anymore. When you mount a low profile tire on a 19, your diameter is 22.2 roughly. So that's already lower than if you run 20s on your car, you have to cut them down to at least 22.5 and then scrub them in. And then once you get to, 22.2, they're pretty much done. They'll start peeling from the wheel. Whereas with a 19, you're starting off with a tire that's virtually brand new. I also made specific discs just for the HGs because they are aggressive. The diameter of this is 22.0. So you have a 0.2 difference on a brand new set of scrub tires. And what happens is you can literally put them on the car, and within probably 10, 15 laps, you're good to go. Keep running them. The HGs wear really, really slow. And then the next disc size is 21.8. So you're pretty much good. The tires will last. At Worlds, I ran the same set of front tires from the day I got there to the day I left. And I still have the 4 disc on there. I still have the HG disc on there at the end of the day, at the end of A2 on Sunday. So HGs to me are just probably the best tire in my opinion. Anyway, these are both available on the website. Highly suggest them. 19s in general are more of a linear curve. A 20 millimeter wheel typically has a little bit more mid-corner bite to it, but then you'll lose a little bit of exit or entry depending on, there's a lot of variables on that. Whereas a 19, especially with this, you won't get that bite and it's linear. So, and I think, like I said, the best thing is you don't have to ever chew front tires. That's the thing of the past now. So that's one of those things where I've been preaching it. The people who do it can see what I'm saying. So, hey, try out, see if you like it. If you don't like it, go back to your 20s. But I feel like with a static front end, a 19 millimeter front wheel is going to be optimal. Setup wise on this car, this is still my little test mule. So I'm still trying a whole lot of different setup, but currently right now I am running the pink linear front springs, servos all the way forward, big block battery, the new Pro chassis, soft sides, and that's about it. I think, the dual spring center shock with the purple compression and white droop spring. One of the things some people realize, some people don't, is when you accelerate, the pod goes this way. It doesn't go up. So by having that white spring there, you can control your on power steering by different spring rates. Very advantageous for tuning, and it's one of those driver's feelings type of tune. You don't necessarily change it per track. Once you find a spring that fits your driving style, you pretty much keep it in there. And in the purple springs, the same effect of any normal non-dual spring shock. So you can go softer, harder, depending on the track. You don't have to set static droop anymore. And while you accelerate, if you have a solid top shock, as soon as you accelerate, that pod puts pressure on the shock and you no longer have rear suspension at all because the pressure is on the droop stop and there's no suspension. Whereas if you have a spring on the car, if you are accelerating and hit a bump, you still have spring action. It's pretty much that simple. Another thing that's coming, I think next week, this is actually a printed one, but we have aluminum shock mount coming. And it's going to allow you to use 3.5 millimeter ball studs instead of the little screw in the ball end, which is kind of a pain in the butt to change things on it. Now you'll be able to literally just put, if you want to change your shock angle, you can just put a shim under the ball stud and keep it moving. Those should be ready in about a week. They're on the way. All right, that's it for the RC28 Pro chassis. I do have one more thing, that we did do an update on the standard Pro deck, and what we have done is we put notches here and here. The reason for that is if you run a small battery, you basically put the deck in as is and it's going to be fine. If you want to run the bigger batteries, then what you'll do is simply take your Dremel tool, you'll grind out that little notch right there on both sides, and then you'll grind this flat across there, and that'll give you enough space for a bigger battery. All right, that's it for today. Thank you very much.